Hashtag rescue story, hashtag biker heroes, hashtag true courage. A kidnapped girl signaled the bikers, they didn't think twice. The late afternoon sun stretched long shadows across the highway, turning chrome into streaks of fire and leather into silhouettes. The rumble of engines rolled like distant thunder as a pack of bikers cruised in tight formation down the open road. They weren't in a hurry. Saturday rides were sacred, wind therapy, they called it. At the front of the pack rode Mason, a broad-shouldered man with a salt and pepper beard and calm, watchful eyes. Behind him were 8 others, men and women bound by loyalty thicker than blood. Teachers, mechanics, veterans, a paramedic, ordinary people who wore patches and rode hard, but who lived by one simple code: protect your own, and help when help is needed. They had no idea that within the next few minutes, that code would be tested. Traffic slowed ahead as they approached a stretch of construction. Cones narrowed the lanes, forcing vehicles into a slow crawl. The bikers staggered into a tighter formation, engines growling impatiently but controlled. That's when Jenna, riding third in line, noticed it. A faded white cargo van 2 cars ahead. No windows in the back. Rust creeping along the wheel wells. Ordinary enough. Except for the hand. It appeared for just a second through the small sliding window near the passenger seat. Small, pale, trembling. Jenna squinted. The hand reappeared, 2 fingers extended in a V shape. Then flattened, palm down. Then 2 fingers again. Her heart kicked. It wasn't random. It was deliberate. She accelerated slightly, pulling up beside Mason. Front right van, she shouted over the engines. Passenger window. Look. Mason edged his bike forward, pretending casual curiosity. The van's passenger window was cracked open just enough for air. And there it was again. 2 fingers. Palm down. 2 fingers. His stomach tightened. He'd seen that signal once before during a safety seminar his sister had organized for local schools. A discreet distress signal taught to children, a way to signal danger without speaking. The hand vanished. Then a face appeared for half a heartbeat. Young, maybe 12, eyes wide with a terror that punched straight through him. The van lurched forward as traffic began moving again. Mason didn't hesitate. He signaled the group with 2 sharp hand motions: formation, shift and surround. No panic. No reckless heroics. Just precision. The bikers moved like water flowing around stone. 2 sped up ahead of the van. 3 dropped back behind it. The rest flanked it at a careful distance, engines forming a protective barrier of steel and sound. Inside the van, the driver stiffened. He was in his late 30s, baseball cap pulled low. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel as he checked his mirrors. Motorcycles. Too many of them. He glanced sideways. The girl was trying to look small in her seat. Her wrists were zip-tied in front of her, hidden under a sweatshirt. He'd underestimated her. He'd thought she was too scared to be clever. Stop moving, he muttered under his breath. But it was too late. Mason pulled up level with the driver's side window and tapped his helmet twice, a universal sign asking the driver to lower his window. The driver shook his head sharply. Mason smiled behind his visor. Then he revved his engine. The sound was thunder. All around the van, engines roared in unison, echoing off the concrete barriers. Drivers nearby slowed instinctively, giving the spectacle a wide berth. The van driver's breathing quickened. He tried to accelerate, but traffic boxed him in. One biker in front slowed just enough to keep him pinned. Inside the van, the girl locked eyes with Mason again. Hope flickered there. Mason pointed 2 fingers at his own eyes. Then toward her. I see you. Her lips trembled. The driver swerved suddenly, trying to push into the shoulder. But a biker was already there, steady as a wall. Another rider behind the van activated a helmet cam and spoke clearly. Plates recorded. Law enforcement notified. It wasn't a bluff. Rico, the group's paramedic and unofficial tech wizard, had already used voice command to alert emergency services. Location shared. Description given. Situation reported as suspected abduction in progress. The driver's options were shrinking by the second. Panic makes people sloppy. He slammed the brakes. The van screeched to a halt in the middle of the narrowed lane. But the bikers had anticipated it. They stopped cleanly, engines still rumbling like a living perimeter. Mason dismounted first. He approached slowly, palms visible. Calm, none threatening, but there was steel in his posture. Everything all right in there? He called out evenly. The driver's eyes darted wildly. I don't know what you think you're doing, he stammered. That's my niece. The passenger door handle twitched. And then, the girl screamed. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Help me. That was all it took. 3 bikers moved instantly to the passenger side. Jenna reached the door just as it flung open from inside. The girl scrambled out, tripping over her own feet. Jenna caught her. "You're okay," she said firmly, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You're safe." The driver bolted from his seat, attempting to shove past Mason. He didn't get far. Mason sidestepped and used the man's own momentum to guide him face first onto the hood. Controlled. Efficient. Another biker secured his wrists with practiced speed. No wild punches. No unnecessary force. Just restraint. Sirens wailed in the distance. The girl clung to Jenna, shaking violently. Up close, they could see bruises forming along her arms. Dirt smudged across her cheek. Her lips were dry and cracked. "What's your name?" Jenna asked softly. "Emily," she whispered. "Emily, I'm Jenna. You did something very brave." Tears spilled down Emily's face. "I didn't know if you'd see me," she said. Mason crouched nearby, giving her space but staying within sight. "We saw you," he said gently. "You did exactly the right thing." Police cruisers arrived in a blur of flashing lights. Officers rushed forward, quickly assessing the scene. The restrained driver was taken into custody without further struggle. The van was searched. It confirmed everyone's worst fears. Emily hadn't known the man. He'd grabbed her from a park less than 20 miles away. An officer approached Mason. "You folks intervened." Mason nodded. She signaled. The officer looked at Emily, then back at the ring of leather-clad riders forming a quiet wall of protection around her. "Well," he said quietly, "you likely saved her life." The words hung heavy in the air. Emily was wrapped in a blanket from one of the patrol cars. An officer gently cut the zip ties from her wrists. The marks were angry and red. Before she was led to the ambulance for evaluation, she looked up at the bikers. "You didn't even know me," she said. Rico smiled softly. "Didn't need to." As paramedics checked her vitals, one of the officers approached with an update. Emily's parents had already been contacted. They were on their way. The wait felt longer than the entire confrontation. When a silver sedan finally screeched into the blocked-off lane, a woman burst out before the car had fully stopped. "Emily." The reunion was explosive. Sobs, apologies, relief so intense it seemed to shake the air itself. Her father arrived seconds later, wrapping both of them in his arms. The bikers stood back, giving the family their moment. Emily broke away and ran toward them once more. "Wait," she called. She stopped in front of Mason. "Thank you," she said, voice steadier now. "I remembered what my teacher said. About the signal." Mason nodded. "And you were smart enough to use it." She hesitated. "I was scared." "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," Jenna said gently. "It means you act anyway." Emily stepped forward and hugged her. One by one, she hugged the rest of them too. Even Rico, who awkwardly patted her shoulder like he wasn't used to receiving hugs from children. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in orange and violet, the scene began to clear. The suspect was gone. Statements were taken. Evidence logged. The highway reopened. Engines started again. Before mounting his bike, Mason looked once more at Emily, now safely wrapped in her parents' arms. He gave her the same signal she'd given them. 2 fingers. "Calm down." 2 fingers. She smiled and mirrored it back. The bikers pulled away slowly, engines rolling back into rhythm. Traffic swallowed them gradually until they were just another ripple of chrome and sound disappearing into dusk. No press conference. No celebration. Just a quiet understanding shared among them. Sometimes courage is loud. Sometimes it's the roar of engines boxing in evil. But sometimes, it's the trembling hand of a little girl who refuses to give up. And the strangers who choose not to look away. 1500 WAD.